Okay, this way around we go. Alright, so there's the gallery in its entirety with all my work hanging up. Here's some nearby and more over here and some more down there. You'll see my gumboots also because I do spend a lot of time in the garden because I do like to work, you know, the garden is art, and then bringing flowers in and painting them is also part of my art, as is photography, but we'll just look at the oil paintings for today. So what I might start with is I think we'll go with the Fires series because it's sort of right in front of me, at the beginning, so we're in the foyer. But before I go there, I think we'll just look at some of my most recent work and what's inspired that work. So we'll notice there's my little darling doggy in the gallery's floor there asleep, being her good little self. And here she is represented as an oil painting. Okay, and next to her is one of my children. But this was a historical painting. It's from a recent work, but I made the sketch that I started this work from a long time ago. So he's asleep in the bed clearly, but he's having a dream, and his head is resting on a mountain, and in that dream he's running up that mountain and he's flying a kite. So this is 2023, this work. And then this one of our beloved Poochie Pet. This is 2020. This is an oil on paper. The first work I showed you is oil on board. This is oil on paper, and this is a finger painting. The other one of my child as in the dream is brushwork. Okay, so now we're going to go to a series. I'm going to flip you around over here, and we're going to start at this work here. So we're going to look at the series of the bushfires in 2019 in Northern Rivers, where I currently reside in Australia. There was a massive amount of bushfires, and it caused the damage to just millions of hectares and billions of animals, and it was devastating. And so I did a painting series of it to try to release all of the incredible emotions that I felt during that time. So this is the first work in that series, and this is Peace and Quiet. This one is called Blue Knob with Webster's Creek, and this is oil on board. And this is the peace and quiet before the fires began. So we're just going to come in and look at some of the detailing. And when I come in and show you the details, you'll see all the layers of colours. So when you're painting with oils, there's a really beautiful opportunity to apply the paint in the age-old way of the masters, which is the way I have been taught and which I am offering tuition in, is to apply the paint in layers, in processes that we broadly call underpainting and overpainting. Okay, underpainting being first as it's under, and overpainting being the top layers. Okay, and here we come down to this corner here in this work is Webster Creek. There. So we'll talk more about painting process, but we're going to go to the second work in this series of bushfires next, which is this work here. Okay, and this one is called
I don't know what this one's called. I think this one remained untitled actually, to be honest with you. And this is oil on chipboard, not chipboard, acid-free board. And once again, I'll bring you into the colours, all the different layers. So with underpainting, we paint on the base colours of the work in a broad way without detail, and we work up through the layers to add on more and more colours and textures and depth using the overpainting. And in the overpainting, we use a technique called glazing, where the layers become more and more translucent as we go on. So I'm coming down into the next work now, but I've come up close to it first, so we'll just explore the colours. Okay, so we've got some areas of glazing here where there's some different colours being put one over the top, over the top, over the top, over the top. Sometimes we glaze in a transparent finish, and other times we might paint over alla prima, which is to use the paint in a thicker manner without mixing it with a thinner to make it go translucent or transparent. Okay, so I'm coming back onto this work now, pulling out to see it in its entirety. So this one is called Fire Engulfs Protesters Falls. Okay, oil on board, acid-free board. Okay, and we're going to come around to the next one. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the fires now to work our way up to the storyline. So we saw before the fire, then we saw the small untitled work where we can see the fire glowing. I'll come back up to that. We can see the fire glowing in the distance. So this was an observation my son and I made from the coast. On the afternoon the fires broke out, and we saw the fires up behind in the mountains, and we were on the beach watching the smoke, the red and the embers grow as the light faded on that Friday night. And then by now the whole, area of Northern Rivers has been burnt, and our precious assets like Protesters Falls, with some of the oldest living heritage rainforest in Australia, are perilously close to being burnt. You'd be pleased to know that the Protesters Falls basin did not get burnt. However, a lot of it was terraformed in the floods. Coming around now, I like to have interesting curiosities in my gallery too. So this is just a collection of crystals and gems that you can find in New South Wales, Northern Rivers, and some of it New England. But to the third work in the series, oops, it's all crooked. I'm just gonna reach in and straighten it up a little bit. Okay, so this one is oil on cardboard, and this work depicts the rain dance of the Widjabul people upon Bundjalung Nation to call forth rain to put the fires out. And this is exactly what happened. Rain came, and the fires were eventually extinguished 4 months after they began. And as I mentioned, after billions of lives had been lost, and after millions of hectares had been burnt. Okay, so that is the next work in the fire series. And over here, the story shifts to what happened after the fire burned and the rains came. So this work here is Protesters Falls in flood. This is when the fires had burnt and the rains came and flooded all of the debris down into the Protesters Falls basin after the rains put out all the fires. And of course, those rains was from a cyclone that was up in Queensland, and all of that runoff took all of the big burnt trees right out to the beaches, all the way down to Coffs or Grafton potentially, and all the way up to the Gold Coast. Okay, this work, these are all oil on boards. Now, these are all finger painted works. This is probably my favourite of my works. This is Protesters Falls after fire, after flood. And this is my first ability to get in and see protesters after the fires. And I observed a rainbow coming as all the mist came down, and everything was clear, there was no green, but there was soot and black everywhere in the rainbow. And I just saw an enormous potential for transformation and regrowth. So I'm going to just zoom in because I've got to walk around the sofa. I might bring you down and have a look at the gallery right now. So, because it's a beautiful space, this is my view out to the mountains, to the Nightcap National Park. And my making space is out here. My place where I make my work is over in that corner on the veranda there. And in here, that's Sally on her sofa, the therapeutic couch. We sit there together and work often. And here is some of my main influences. William Robinson, always Indigenous art from growing up in the Northern Territory on Arty country, and Turner. I was taught in the ways of the great masters. All right, so I'm just going to come back this way now. I'll show you this view back towards where we were initially standing. I'm really happy with the way this gallery and making space looks, and I can't wait to set it all up again in a beautiful new space. All right, so we're going to come in and have another look at this next work now. So, oh, sorry, we'll go upwards. This one is, I might go back a bit and zoom in a little more if we can. All right, there we go. This one is, I can't remember what I called this, but it's a rainbow in Protesters Falls, basically. And it's sort of another time when I went back to Protesters Falls after the fires and the floods had gone, maybe sort of 6 months later, and I observed a beautiful rainbow in the droplets falling down from Protesters Cliff, and all the green was coming back on the previously burnt cliffs. So that was pretty beautiful to observe. So I'm just going to do a manoeuvre to get myself up a little higher. This is the final work in this series of the bushfires. Here we go, up a bit higher. So what I might do before we go to that actually is just zoom in a little bit more if I can. So you'll see the glazing, which is the overpainting in this work, all the shadowing and the transparent application of thin colour washes to create this idea of water there. And then all of those colours in this work here is just a lot of years worth of glazing to literally create colour refractions that appear as rainbows, because one signature of my work is the desire to represent light using paint effects. Okay, so this is the final work in this series, and a lot of people like this work. It's very influenced by William Robinson's compositions, where you get to see a lot of the work, the landscape in the work. So this one, like I said, I can't remember the titles. I'd have to look them up. I titled and made these a long time ago. They're all catalogued now. 2020, but they're saying that they did take 2 years of painting to make them to this level of glazing and finishing. So this one is the end story of this series about the fires. It's like a couple of years later and everything is at peace again, that everything's grown back, and there's a fabulous, beautiful, picturesque northern rivers having come through all of the heartache of the fires. And it goes from Byron Bay there in the middle. You can see the jutting out of the bay. You can see the bay and the jutting out with the lighthouse. I can't zoom any closer. I'm already sort of, oh no, we can go a little bit further in. So that portion in the middle of frame now is where the lighthouse is. And then there's the back surf beach on the other side there. And then there's the main beach itself. But in the foreground, we've got Protesters Falls, the waterfall there again, coming right down into the foreground. And then in the foreground here is the Northern Rivers picturesque mountainscape that everybody is so familiar with looking at. And flowing right through the foreground here is Terania Creek, with all of the rainforest, dense rainforest foliage and plants growing back. Okay, so that's series 1 of the fires, and while I'm up here I think we'll do series 2. So I'm just gonna pivot around and go backwards through series 2 slowly. This one is a very different series, okay? I'm going backwards through it and we'll come again and learn about each work. This is an entirely finger painted series. The series I just showed you were finger painted in the beginnings, in the underpainting, and then all the overpainting and glazing is done with brushes. But this second series is a little different. This series was done, and there's a beautiful stained glass by renowned Australian artist Shirley Miller, and my studio is in her beautiful estate, which I'm currently tenanted in. So that's a real blessing as well. So I'm loving being here, and I've taken really beautiful care of this space, and I hope the next custodian enjoys it and loves it as much as me. Anyway, so that's Shirley Miller's beautiful stained glass. And then coming down to my first work there, we're sort of we're off front on for these ones. But that's okay, I'm going to leave it as it is. So you're not seeing this image front on, but this one is called, so these are all done 15 to 20 minute finger paintings only. This is all they were, and from beginning to end on butcher's paper, so oil, finger painted onto butcher's paper. And they tell the story of mine and my son's existence in the traumatic part of the fire, from the moment that my sons first spotted the fire on Mount Arty on that Friday afternoon as I was picking him up from school at the village of the Channon, and we were evacuated to Byron Bay, and then it just tells the story of the unfolding of the emotionality of that chaotic and traumatic time. So that first one there is called Look Mum Fire. That's the bright Byron Bay lighthouse in the middle, and all of the greens are the ocean. The pink is the red in the sky coming over the ocean. Then you can see the green mountain of the mountains and Mount Arty, and then you can see a little plume of smoke coming out into that black sky. So that's Look Mum Fire. That's what my son said at the school gate on that Friday afternoon. The next one is just the view out to sea from Byron Bay, and this one is just with that cloudy smoke-filled sky, the blue ocean, and the beautiful rock formations out in Byron Bay being captured there as well. This next one is back up to the fire scene, and this is like the fire just engulfing the mountains and the blackness and thickness of the smoke. This next one is obscured by the flue of the chimney. So let me just see if I don't want to tip my table over, that I'm standing on to do this. So that is just the fire again, a fireball engulfing a garden and a farm with the black smoke in the background. And this one is a fireball, and there's the shadow of sorrow there beside the fireball, and just food bowl on fire, and with bush in the background. Then this next one, I'm going to zoom out a little bit because it's in a different orientation. This one is beginning of recovery after the fire on all levels. So it's called Seed. So this is underground, and there's a little seed growing under there, and as you can see, it's just sprouting. So if you look in the top corner, that's a sprout there, and it's going to push up into the open air. And the next one is just a beautiful garden of flames, but the flame of fire of roses of bright flowers growing. And then the next one, these are going to be off centre again. This one is a rose, a picture of, a close-up of Seed and of that rose garden, a flame in the light with all the water coming to it. And then this one is a rose garden at sunset. So those are the two fire series. I'm going to hop down now. So I think I will come over to the, you're seeing out my window while I do this. I may have to edit this, but we'll see. Maybe it'll be intriguing enough left as is. Okay, so we're going to just come back and look at some other works in the gallery. This is a framed work. Most of my work is framed upon sale, but some of it is that I have, found beautiful frames for, that fit the work framed beforehand. So that's one that's already framed. That's just a beach scene of Tioga Beach at Northern Rivers. And coming down to this one, this is framed in a found object, which is part of a meat safe. And this is a landscape of Terrania Creek and Terrania Falls. This is a view from one of the properties I rented recently. This was done one just before the floods, and you can see there's all the waterfalls in full fall, and that's Terrania Falls, not Terrania, Tuntable Falls in full fall. You can see all the overpainting here. You can see all the different colours involved. So some of those are more fatter alla prima, which is what we use when we call what we term putting the paint on without any thinners. Those paints are applied first, the brighter colours, and then all the darker colours are glazed on over the top to create depth and shading. And likewise, there is some solid painting in the top layers too. So that's a landscape. We might carry on this way now, and I'm just going to show you work from my current series, which is all just underpainted at this stage, so there will probably be some overpainting of this work. But these were made as part of my master's studies in healing arts that I do with my cat on a part-time basis. And this is a brand new series of work inspired by the Northern Rivers where I live, inspired by the stories of the Rainbow region and the Dreamtime, and inspired by painting to music and painting to drum beats, which is what a lot of this work has also been about. So if you look around on this YouTube channel, you'll see other videos that I've made of these in progress, where I've actually made films of me making this work to music. So if you're interested in process, those would be ones to look at. I really like all the colour and texture in these works. These are just finger paintings, and they're just one layer, one go at it, just an underpainting. So they'll get more layering, because some of them aren't even like this big one I'm filming now. None of these are titled really. They are sort of, you know, ideas in my head that they're about the rainbow, dreaming in the area, as I said. This one isn't even all covered with paint yet, the canvas. So they're all oil paint on canvas. And then if we come round to here, we've got my collection of art books. It's my reference collection. And we've also got more work. This is a landscape that I'm currently working on. So this is an underpainting. So with an underpainting, if I zoom in here, you'll notice that there's even a lot of this is a board, a work on board. So you'll see a lot of the wood grain showing through still, particularly on this road. You'll see there's not a lot of coverage on the work. So that's underpainting. You'll see it's broad as well, not heaps of different colours. I have started overpainting. Just let me bring my hand in. So these white marks are overpainting, and then all up along here, this is all starting to be overpainted. And then if I come up into this area here, you'll see there's a lot more application of paint up in these foliage areas where I've started to work on the concept of light and foliage. Okay, but if I come over to the edges, you'll see there's a lot less paint on here. Okay, so this work is at a point where it's just going from being underpainted into the overpainting. Okay, so that's a heavily overpainted area. You'll notice the white's still on really thick, but there's also some glazing areas. A lot of these yellows down here and reds there, that's all thin transparent colour that's been painted on so you can see through to the layers underneath. Okay, so then there's this work's all underpainting. So this is a series that isn't finished yet. It's been on the wall drying. This is from 2022, and this is a spiritual series about the concept of ego death and dark night of the soul. So it's kind of a symbolic series. We've got the mermaid energy, Celestia, but she's not finished yet. She has the moon and the dove. And then this is a picture of the integration of divine masculine and feminine energy. Then we've got the prayer of Ho'oponopono, which is, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you, as read and thought by Grace. And we've got an abstract under the sea work in this too, which is, I don't know, going somewhere. That's just a a finger painted underpainting at this point. Okay, moving right along to the last two series in the gallery. Well, not really, there's heaps more to look at, but we might come to the nudes next. So this is a series of nudes that I've been working on. Some of these are finished and others will get pulled down and more layers will be done. But this is also a reference to divine masculine and feminine conceptualizations and phenomenon, if you will. So these are all nudes, oils on canvas, all of them. And these are all from life drawing sessions that I have taught to as part of sessions I've given to clients. So each time, of course, that I do a life drawing, I get the opportunity to, of course, conduct some life drawing of my own. While I demonstrate life drawing, I get to do life drawing. I'm a little out of practice, to be honest, but still perfectly ingrained with the skills to be teaching others. And as any working artist will tell you, always happy to improve. But I really like this guy because, you know, making paintings is, it's about practice, studio practice, plein air practice. Then these are some sort of abstract short sketches of the nude developed up into more symbolic works of art. This guy, for instance, I like his sort of a centaur and his knowing ease, or no king ease, which, you know, however you might think of it. And there's someone down here at the creek. Okay, I like these two as well. I like taking nudes and telling a story with them. This guy got some jeans on. He's got a cigarette. And this one is called All Eyes on Somebody's Lover. Look at his flowers and all the eyes on him. Wherever he goes, just eyes on him. And I like this guy above here too. Here's my little dark angel. He's got wings. Fallen angel. And he's in the garden of wisteria at midnight. There's the moon. And here's all the flowers. This one isn't finished yet. It still needs some more layers, but I really like it. Okay, and then we're going over to the bird series over here. Okay, this one is the bird series. This is the black cockatoo. You forgot who he was at home. And we've got the king parrot in the garden of Lynn Larson. We've got songbirds with the retirement stone. We've got the curtain. I'm filming from this angle because I'm right beside a canvas here that I've been working on, and if I come this way you'll see that canvas. So this one is Spirit Wishes, and then we've got Kookaburra, and we've got way down here White Cockatoo. Then coming back into here, this work is part of a series I'm getting ready to exhibit. And this is Sapphire Tree 2. Let me zoom out. So this is the biggest work in my collection, or the second biggest work in my collection at the moment. It's underpainting. So here's another great example of underpainting if you come in, but I've started to sort of overpaint. So this is that crossover period too. You can see down in here that's very sketchy painting. There's a lot of stuff that is really broad. Okay, so that's all underpainted. This is all brush work, no fingers, just brushed underpainting of the sapphire tree. And I'm starting to overpaint though into here. You'll see there's multi-layers starting to happen, but many more will come on top of the layers. And if you look down here, you'll see some glazing. You'll even see where this green, let me just refocus this green here, this dark green glazing has bled over onto this white trunk here, especially here, okay? And then of course this painting is fun. I had to redo this big because, well, I'm so grateful to be in a beautiful big space where I can work big, but because the small one sold very quickly and I didn't want it missing from the exhibition. So anyway, there's sapphires to find in this one. Down in the creek here, there's 3 sapphires hidden. So I love this playfulness about this work too. And this is a work that is the current series that I'm about to exhibit about the COVID. This is all work that I create, except for Sapphire Tree 2, but Sapphire Tree 1 that I sold. All of those works were created during the COVID period, which was a rough time for us all. And then we'll just come over onto the table here and I'll show you some other works from just a little bit different. So as well as the oil painting, we've got, here's a mixed media work. So this is Protesters Falls again, which I love to work with. And this is pencil and charcoal and watercolour and pastel probably, and maybe some Posca pen in there too. So I'm very happy with these. I love these mixed media ones. And this is abstract work that I also do. This is called Impactor, 12,000 Years. And then I can move this. This is a finger painting on butcher's paper, and I'll pull that aside and I'll show you, this is Happy Place. Okay, this is inspired by art therapy, this one. It's painting your happiest place to music, which was, for me, is always the garden, my happiest place. Then if we come down here, this is just a couple of life drawings that I've done very recently, and some other work that I do that's sort of more sort of formal, I guess, if you wanted to see those sorts of things, is the traditional still lifes. I really like them. This is Wildflowers from My Love. This is another, oh no, it's not, sorry. There's another one called Wildflowers from My Love, but I'm not going to show you all of the things coming in my exhibition, but this one is in the exhibition. And this one too, which is Ugly Fruit on the Mantle at the Hotel in Burrell. So that's pretty much a big summary of my work. And